welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoons, the weekly podcast that revisits, reviews, and ridicules some of the world's weirdest animated series. Coming to you from Seishun Academy, I'll be your chair umpire, Dave Trumbore. To my left, my co-host, he loves to deuce. It's Sean Paul Ellis. How's it going, buddy?
David. I'm doing well. How about yourself, bud?
Doing pretty good, man. Looking forward to it. Also joining us for the show, he would never make a backhanded compliment. It's Matt Barron.
Dude, that was terrible, but I am doing great.
Well, glad to hear it. Yeah, I tried to work in some tennis puns because it took them about 30 seconds before they got one on this show. So I figured,
well, Dave, I love your tennis pun.
Yeah, I already said love. So.
Oh boy. Wait, we're not even 30 seconds into this. Have we run out of tennis
puns? I ran through them all. I tried to get them out of the way just as quickly as possible.
Oh,
God.
Well, that's good. Well, this has been a great episode so far.
I almost said up to par, but that is not even the same sport. It's not even the same sport. I'm curious to know how much Sean learned about tennis in this series, actually, because each and every episode does tell the kids at home what's going on in the game of tennis and how to play and how to keep score and all kinds of fun stuff. So if you don't know anything about tennis, you should probably check out The Prince of Tennis, which is what we'll be talking about tonight. And to tell us more about the history of this show, I will turn it back over to Sean.
So, The Prince of Tennis was originally a Japanese manga series about a tennis prodigy, written, illustrated by Takashi Komoni.
Close enough.
Okay. The title is shortened to TeniPuri.
I'm throwing lots of words at you tonight.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
Oh, good.
So it's an amalgam of the pronunciations of the words tennis prince. In the manga, there were a total of 379 chapters. I believe it was in Shonen Jump.
Yeah,
correct.
Correct.
Yes. So, and these chapters spanned over 42 different volumes. As of volume 42, the manga had sold 40 million copies in Japan. This was a pretty popular series. So, there is a new manga series that's out that is the New Prince of Tennis, which has gotten into serialization. If you're interested in actually watching the episodes that they have, whether they are subbed or dubbed, Viz Media has acquired the ability to be able to distribute those in the US, and they are available on Hulu.
Get out of here.
Yeah, they are.
How about that?
Yeah.
I had no clue. I'm sitting here looking up bootleg stuff, and there it is, a pristine copy of it, just ready and waiting for me in my paid subscription to Hulu.
Yeah, there's like 50-something episodes that are available on Hulu, so I took advantage of my subscription and got into it. So the anime aired in Japan from October 10, 2001 to March 30th, 2005, spanning a total of 178 episodes, and as well as there was a theatrical movie, which, oh man, to be at premiere night for the
Prince of Tennis
for the Prince of Tennis theatrical release. Ooh. Can you imagine?
I hope it wasn't a red carpet. I hope it was just a green court with just a net running down the middle of it to like separate you from the press.
From the screen.
From the screen and the press. Either one.
I would love it if they just if they showed it sort of like a screen on the green.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that
type
screen
of scenario. Yeah. And so if they did something like that where they actually showed it on a tennis court.
Well, look, man, this one is still really popular apparently over in Japan. You know, they did a few polls over the years to say like, you know, what are the top 100 favorite anime series of all time? And this one consistently ranked within the top 20 or top 30.
Wow.
And we'll get into why that's kind of surprising, because when you think anime, when you think Japan in general, you don't really think toned down almost to the level of being a drama about kids playing tennis. Like for a while, at least in the beginning, there's nothing crazy going on. It's just kind of like a really good tennis player. So we'll get into it. But yeah, so kind of surprising that it's still that popular, but pretty cool.
Well, you had asked earlier in the episode about what I learned about tennis.
Yes.
Matt, did you ever play tennis?
I did not. Well, I've played one game of tennis in my life, and it went real bad. So
to be a fly on the wall for that one.
Oh man, you would have been in danger of getting crushed by an errant tennis ball. But Uh, so yeah, I
Give me
have played tennis.
give me a
Not
time frame
well,
here.
but
Are we
I've
talking like
played.
5-year-old Baron, 25-year-old Baron?
That was like 17.
Oh, okay, so high
Okay.
school age. Okay.
All right, Dave, did you ever play tennis?
Man, I played for like one summer. I did like a summer camp that was local for like, yeah, just one summer when I was probably
Yeah.
10 or 12, somewhere around there. So around this kid's age.
Yeah.
Did not continue after that. I enjoyed it. Thought it was fun. I don't know. Probably started too late.
That's that's exactly the same experience I had. I played like a summer tennis clinic for several weeks. My dad enjoyed the game, and so he set out to teach my sister and I how to play. And I think it became very apparent after a couple lessons from him that our attention spans just weren't going to really cut it. I mean, you figure you're 10, 11, 12 years old. Your biggest concern is not necessarily at that point tennis. And I've said this before with some of our previous cartoons that we've had, like Mighty Ducks last week. The ability to focus in on one thing for that person,
Right.
it feels so rewarding. And I'm continually jealous of people who are just like, look, I got to play this thing. This is the only thing that matters to me in my life. I don't really care about anything else. I wish I had that level of focus.
Well, look, it seems
Wish
to me
I-
like tennis seems to me like one of those sports where it's just you're either in it 100% and you're committed to being like the best or as best as you can be, or you're just not doing it at all. Because it doesn't seem like one of those
Right.
things you kind of just like play recreationally. It's not like a thing you get together with your buddies on the street and just be like, hey, let's get a group together and go play tennis. It's like you can't just go down to the park or an open
The
field and play
roaming street
football.
tennis gangs
Yeah,
of
the
the
street
90s.
tennis
Yeah.
gangs from Warriors. It's just not one of those things. It's a very individualized sport. It's very much a one-on-one. So each of those kind of like alpha athletes is trying to be the best that they can be. It's not. It doesn't strike me as recreational.
Really? No pickup games of tennis ever?
I mean, I used to when I was playing in that summer. There wasn't anybody else around that was just like, yeah, I totally play tennis and we'll play with you and help your game. No, so it was a wall. It was that old. You get a canister of the tennis balls. You get your racket and you just go find a wall somewhere and just practice your serve and you practice returns
Yeah.
and all that. So it's just a strange kind of like individualized sport that I don't know, just never really clicked with me. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I will say this because I know that we all had the same access
to walls.
to
Okay.
we're all familiar with walls and buildings and
I
structures.
learned about doors a few weeks ago on this very show.
Nice.
It was amazing.
Yeah, that was a good.
It pretty much blew his
That's a
mind.
good one.
To be that young and innocent.
It's an educational
Wow,
experience here. Yeah.
Well,
Isn't
so I
Dave
will say
like
that we.
2 years younger than you?
Yeah, probably.
Nice.
A lot can
Still
happen in those
younger.
2 years.
Still younger. Still innocent.
A
Still.
lot can happen.
Still,
Today it's
when
doors.
I
Tomorrow,
look-
who knows?
When I look into Dave's eyes, I see the glimmer and hope of you.
And just slowly burning away year by
Just-
year.
just
Being snuffed out
murdered.
on a daily basis.
Just being snuffed out.
No, I will say this. So I know that we all had access to play racquetball when we were in college
Oh,
together. Did you guys ever play racquetball?
No, it seemed
I-
like it seemed crazy to me. It seemed like tennis. Like, hey, if you don't like tennis, then you're gonna fucking loathe racquetball because it's like tennis turned up to 11, and you can get murdered. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just never seemed.
It's
Yeah.
great.
Sean, you and
never
I
seemed
actually
interesting.
played racquetball several times together.
Yeah, we did. Murder tennis is a
Murder
great
tennis.
Now,
experience.
I would
Murder
have watched
tennis
that
is
anime,
a great experience.
and that is the anime
Yeah.
I thought we were watching. Was like just robot murder tennis, but that's
Yeah.
not what
So
we
thank
got.
you.
And that was before the
Thank you.
days of Metalocalypse, so
Yeah, surprisingly.
Yes, right. We Matt and I played racquetball during a summer. I believe the summer prior to us playing, I played a friend of mine named Adam, and we played several times a week for 3 to 4 months, and he beat me every single time we played.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. It's not like
He-
a friendly thing. It's just like you're out to be the best, even if it's just.
I
Better
know,
than the
but
next
I
guy.
was
Yeah.
I was inspired
Yeah,
to
sure.
continue to play because I really wanted to beat him so bad. Second summer that we played, which is I think when I started playing with Baron, I began crushing Adam, and so it was rather rewarding.
Take that,
Yeah.
Adam.
and actually
Yeah.
what was the
Take that, Adam.
when we played at what was it Peterson, the
Yeah.
Peterson we at least you walked in on ground level into kind of a glass enclosure and it looked
Yes.
good. When we played up in trees,
In
you had
trees, yeah, the
to
dungeon.
Yeah,
you had to get
trees is the
down into
best.
this pit on like a rickety extension
Yeah.
ladder that was suspended
Yeah.
by a rope you like lowered
hmm
yourself down into. It was
Once you
probably
got in,
the closest thing to like, Thunderdome I've ever experienced in my life.
yeah, that was the best because I loved playing in trees because of that exact feeling that once you got to the bottom, there felt like there was no way out. It really felt like two men enter, one man
Yeah.
leaves.
A brief
There was
point of reference
something.
for anyone not familiar with the University of Pittsburgh athletic system: trees, as Baron and Sean have mentioned, is actually an athletic facility. They are not actually
Yeah.
playing racquetball in trees.
Yeah.
No, it was like
Or
Crouching Tiger, Hidden
yeah, they're
Dragon, jumping
just
from
jumping from
trees.
branch
It
to
was
branch.
an athletic center comprised of mostly poured concrete and lead-based paint.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there's a real psychedelic experience to play in there. It's
Ah,
good times.
it was awesome.
I'm
But
just coming off of
the
that train
Prince
right
of
now.
Tennis is not about either psychedelics or racquetball. It is about tennis. And to tell us a little bit more about it, we're going to turn it over to Matt.
Okay, so the series is primarily set in Tokyo, and the protagonist slash main character is Ryoma Echizen, who is a tennis prodigy, and he attends and I believe I'm pronouncing this correctly, Saishun Academy, which is a private school that's well known for its tennis program and
Mhm.
its talented players. Ryoma quickly defeats pretty much all the upperclassmen shortly after starting, secures himself a spot on one of the team's regular players, and in the pursuit of the ultimate goal of winning the National Middle School Tennis Championship, which apparently is a thing,
I love that.
uh, he makes new friends while learning and mastering the increasingly complex technique. So there's your synopsis.
And I love that too because every once in a while they remind you that this kid is like 12 and he's beating, 14,
Yeah.
15, 16-year-olds. But it's just like they start him off at a pretty high level. So by the time he gets to episode, 42 or whatever it was, I don't know what he must be like. The tennis balls must just burst into flames and like, create sonic
Seriously.
booms by this point because what else can he do?
Yeah, I know we watched the first three episodes,
Yeah.
but in the first three episodes, I think they mentioned that he was in seventh grade probably, you know, 40
40
times.
times. Yeah, just
Like,
to let you
it
know.
was like every other sentence. So, but yeah, Dave, I totally agree with you. Like, by the end of the series, like, he must just be like crushing every single professional player out there.
Well, look, and we were talking about this offline too, so now's a good time we can kind of talk briefly about this series intro, the intro sequence. And Matt brought up a good point that even though the series is it's kind of not dull, it's just dull relative to the other animes that are out there that are all insane, that everything supernatural happens to you, or very heavy on the sci-fi or mecha or whatever. This is all just like very pared down. It's just about a kid who's really, really good at tennis, but eventually some of the kind of power up, kind of the stereotypical anime stuff does kind of come in. And I think, Matt, you mentioned that there were a couple sequences in the intro that kind of flashed to that.
Yeah, there were a couple like power up sequence, sort of
Yeah.
the swirling cyclone around somebody as they prepare to crush
Right.
a serve.
He
A
looked like
lot
he
of
was going
the
Super Saiyan pretty quickly.
yeah, a lot of the stationary characters scrolling background as they like scream at their opponents. So, very, very kitschy. Sort of standard early 2000s anime stuff.
Yeah, Sean, did you pick up anything like that from the intro? I mean, this is one of those kind of intros where they just show a bunch of like random clips throughout. It seems like the entire season, not just the episode.
Yeah. Other than some sweet guitar licks and people just going Super Saiyan, no, I mean it was it's pretty self-explanatory. You're like, oh, they're here to play tennis. Cool. This is all this is about, which is perfect.
Yeah, it actually was surprisingly, I guess refreshing is probably a good word because again, coming into this, like we talked to you guys about it last week, neither Sean nor myself had seen it. Matt, had you seen this before? Had you even heard of this one before?
I have only heard of the manga, but I had
Oh,
never read it.
okay. So
Because to
for the
be
three
honest
of
with you,
us,
like a
So this
tennis
was
manga
brand
could not
new
be
for all
more
three of
yeah,
exciting.
us.
Yeah.
yeah, and I had no clue what I was expecting, to be honest with you. Other than a brief bit of research when we were trying to put together our sports episodes for this month, I was just kind of like, oh, tennis, that's interesting. You don't see a cartoon about tennis every day. So this one got added to our list. Had no clue what to expect, and was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't just crazy, over the top, kill la kill style, one-on-one action sports stuff. It was kind of more about the skill, and it was definitely this one kid's story, Ryoma's story, of him kind of climbing the ranks to be the best tennis player ever in frickin' middle school. That's the part that always drives me crazy.
Right.
Is they keep coming back to the fact that he's just a middle school player. So
Well, Dave, you did make the comparison to Kill la
yeah,
Kill and how wonderfully crazy
right.
that show is. The only bummer with this is that there's not going to be Kill la Kill sexy style cosplay that comes out of this
Yeah.
Prince of Tennis. So that was the one thing I was just like, oh, there's going to be no sexy cosplay from this. All right, I'm still on board. I love tennis.
I gotta wonder, in those 40 episodes, or definitely in the new series, like, are there more just like
Provocative tennis.
provocative tennis girls just running around? Because I would imagine there had to be
Well,
if the show is being made this day and age.
Well, this will be the point in time that I need to ask this question.
Here we go.
So we've talked a little bit about, so we haven't gotten into the characters yet,
Right.
Which is almost inconsequential about the statement I'm about to make.
Okay.
I mean, we've talked about the title sequence. Did you guys pick up on the fact that any female character, anytime they gasped while they were watching tennis, I watched the dub version. In this dub version, it sounded overtly sexual.
Everything does for you,
and
though, to be fair.
no, I'm serious. I watched it, and then I watched the same part again, and I closed my eyes, and I was just like, oh no, this is an orgasm. Like, this is not somebody gasping at tennis.
I will say this: these girls are really into the tennis players. You have to remember that this school is like specifically dedicated to, creating and supporting and developing the best tennis players.
No
other
other academics,
Tokyo.
just
Tennis. Everything's related to tennis.
Sean, you know what it really reminded me of was Real Bout High School.
Oh, okay, yeah. I can see that.
Like, exact same sort of plot. Like, animation style was, like, on Real Bout High School was kind of, not overtly sexual so much as, like, obviously sexual, borderline pornographic.
Blatantly sexual.
Yeah. But, I have to say that I watched the dub version too, and I was like, that's a little uncomfortable. But
yeah, but this one wasn't anything like that, at least to start with. It wasn't, it did have some of the kind of stereotypical things that you see in the Japanese animes. Yes, you will have those problems with kind of the English dubbing over the original Japanese voice cast and things like that. And it did have some of the moments, like, the little teardrop thing forming when a girl gets kind of like shunned by the object of her affection, and all those kinds of things. But man, it was nowhere near as over the top or explicit or crazy as some of the stuff that we watch today is. So it was actually kind of nice. It was almost like watching a sports drama. Sometimes it even felt like I was watching a sports video game. Like, I felt like I was watching somebody just play a game, a tennis game that they had a
somebody
narrative
just playing Wii Sports.
Yeah, just playing Wii Sports with just like better animation. It was just, it's strange, and we can talk about the episodes in a second. But what's that?
Wii Sports with a plot.
Yeah, that's basically what it felt like, especially because the 3 episodes that we watched, and I think Sean got a bonus one in, but the 3 episodes we watched were all, like Matt said, they're kind of rinse and repeat. They have the same plot that happens. You're introduced to an opponent at the beginning of the episode. It's an obstacle that Ryoma has to overcome. He does it fairly easily, and then just moves on to the next episode. And you do that over and over again. So I'm assuming at some point the narrative of this kind of picks up if it's as popular as it is. So, but we didn't quite see it.
I think that's what makes this interesting, and what makes me want to continue to watch the show is that they started the stakes so high, where he is a tennis prodigy. In the 4 episodes that I watched, he begins to just pretty much systematically just take everybody down at this school. And it is, I like you said, Dave, I'm wondering what room they've given the character to grow. I mean, I'm sure that there are new or different tennis, skills and techniques for him to learn along the way, but I mean, he's crushing everybody left and right. It seems like nobody's a real challenge to him.
Yeah, I do know that the show, as the show goes on, that this school does compete against other schools. So at this point,
Right.
he's just kind of competing. He's the new kid in school, but he's got a pedigree, which we'll kind of talk about in a second here, that everybody knows his name or knows the name of his dad at least. So
Right.
once they know who he is, he's kind of got a bullseye. He's got a target on his back. So it gets a little harder for him once people actually know who he is. But then once he actually becomes a member of the team and he starts to make the people around him better, then they have to function as a team against these other schools. So I'm assuming that he's challenged a bit more by, like, the primo players from these other schools kind of around the world. And at some point, he's developing his own stuff too. So I'm sure he's got like power moves, and he's got like these super special crazy name moves that he's got that he only pulls out once a match if he really is in dire straits and stuff like that. That is more of the kind of
Right.
typical one-on-one anime stuff that we're used to seeing.
Yeah, unlike pulling out that kick serve every
Kick serve and a beauty. Yeah.
every single serve. It was ridiculous.
Okay, so the first 3 episodes though, he does have some cool moves that we kind of get like an introduction to, especially if no one's ever seen or played tennis before. They look kind of cool, but in comparison to any other anime you've ever watched, like, they just pale in comparison because they're not the Kamehameha wave. They're not, these massively powerful attacks because they're not trying to kill each other. They're just trying to play a game and win the match. So it's a different kind of feel that you have to kind of get used to. But we've talked about Ryoma a lot here. Matt, what was your kind of first impression of this kid when he kind of comes on the scene?
Really, it was honestly kind of like the prototypical anime character, sort
Hmm.
of like the super reserved, you know,
Too cool for
sort
school.
of exactly like
Yeah.
I mean, he certainly was aware of his tennis skills, and he was very um socially reserved, whereas like the players who were maybe only slightly less than his skill were much more brazen than him. um but I mean, it was really, his character was so relatable to so many other anime series, but in the same way, it was a little refreshing to me just because there wasn't that whole supernatural power
Right.
or, you know, 45 episode arc power up sequence like in Dragon
Exactly.
Ball Z.
Yeah.
Um, so it was, I mean, it was a really relatable character because there wasn't really anything, I'll say, special about him other than a really good tennis talent. So,
Yeah.
um,
I also like that this world kind of exists, at least the small world of the school. There's only two types of people who exist: tennis jerks and tennis idiots. And you kind of have to fall into one of those
yeah,
two things. You're either really good,
exactly.
but you're a dick, or you're really bad, but just want to get better.
You just
Yeah.
gotta remind him you still have a way to go.
Yeah, and he's a dick too. He really is. He's a jerk. He's
Yeah, he
real
really
good,
is.
but
I
he's
love him, but
yeah.
he was such an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
what was your kind of reaction to him throughout the episodes that you watched, Sean?
I just, he continually just shunned or forgot about
Yeah.
people or didn't engage. There was a moment where I was like, "Oh, is he autistic? Is he on
Does
the
he fall on the
spectrum
spectrum?
somehow?"
Yeah.
Well, let's get into that though too, because honestly, I think, and I don't know if they develop it, but my take on it was: here's a kid who's 12. He is
Right.
already known as kind of the next. He's a prodigy.
Samurai
He's
Junior.
known as Samurai Junior because his dad was famous. He retired at such a young age that he could have just like swept the competition for years, but he just wanted to retire for reasons that we don't really find out yet. Um,
Right.
but to me, that was like, and we get glimpses of his dad, just very brief ones early on. To me,
And his dad is a straight up pervert,
he
and
is,
it
but he's
is
the anime
awesome.
pervert. He's like the Master Roshi. He's the
Yes.
old kind of perverted guy who's just kind of hanging
So
out
he
and just
He's
looking
sees
at
the
girls. Yeah.
he sees like a bra and blood starts like profusely firing out of his nose.
Yeah, and he just
No,
rockets off. It wasn't
actually,
even that bad though. It wasn't
I
even that kind of animation. Yeah.
I will say, thankfully, for those reactionary moments in anime where somebody sees, a glimpse of like a butt or a side boob,
Hmm.
and then they get the bloody nose and they
They
flip out
fly out
and
into
freak
outer
out. Yeah,
space. Yeah.
this thankfully was a little bit more
Oh, way
grounded,
more toned down.
and it was I loved that because I enjoy those moments where you see people, and like Naruto comes to mind, like where Kakashi is always looking at,
Yeah. Oh, what is the name of
like
that?
like some type of some cereal that the pervy sage
Right.
writes that is all about like women and relationships and stuff like that. And and people seem to react in a certain way, or even when Naruto does his like sexy jutsu
Yeah.
and people flip out and fly across the
Yeah.
room. And none of that happened in this. Like
No, there's none of that
it was his.
hyperbolic reaction stuff. You just you get maybe
Yeah,
like a raised eyebrow, and that's about it.
yeah. And I think that to me, I was like, okay, well, they're not trying to make this maybe they're not trying to fall into like a stereotype
Right.
that exists about people. They're like, hey, look, like being a pervert exists, being a creep is a normal thing. Like, look, if you want to look at adult material, look at adult material, because you know what, you're an adult. And so he is.
Yeah.
And he looks at it, and he we're introduced to the father, where he's just like, oh, I thought I had a tennis match today. And he's like, nobody shows up, guess I'm gonna take a
Yeah.
nap. I'm like, oh, I can relate to
Yeah,
that.
totally.
I do that most days anyway.
And this is
Like, oh, I thought I was
yeah,
supposed
this
to do
is
something today.
Nanjiro Echizen, which is Ryoma's dad, known as
Yes.
Samurai. And we get a little bit of a flashback from him playing. But to kind of go back to my point about Ryoma's kind of his distance from other people, his isolation, I took that as a sign of like,
Right.
here's this prodigy. This is all he's done since he was pretty much born, is just play tennis and get better at tennis every day of his life. So any other skills that he has, social skills, romance skills, any of that other stuff is just gone. Like there's nothing. He's just a
Well,
tennis
I think
player.
that well, I think based on what we said earlier, about being able to develop this story
Mhm.
for him and to really further understand what Etchison's going to go through, I think those social skills, or those romantic social skills, like that, hopefully is one direction they can take the show in to be able to kind of further evolve his character. Because if he's playing on a team,
Right.
not only is it going to be important for him to win
Right.
matches, but it's also going to be important for his teammates to win. And if he's not supporting them, I don't want to say that that's rude, but it
Well,
is.
it
I
also
mean,
doesn't
it's a
kind of jive with the Japanese kind of model of society either. It should all be a team
right,
effort. You
right,
should do well on your own, but it should help the team overall.
correct.
So that would make sense. So, off of the sort of the romantic angle that we were just talking about, we are introduced to another character. Her name is Sakuna Ryuzaki, and we're actually introduced to her fairly on. She's on one of the trains with some of the other older tennis players who kind of are getting pretty rowdy. She thinks they're trying to hit her with their racket on purpose, but it seems like they just don't even know that she's there. She just kind of drifts into the
She's
background most times.
Yeah, she's sort of a ghost
Yeah.
in the background for most of this, and even Etchison doesn't
He meets her like two or
recognize.
three times and completely forgets who she is.
Yeah, he only, I think it was the end of like the second or the third
Yeah.
episode, is he just like, oh, it's that lady.
Well, it was interesting the way they
Crap.
did it because she, so Sakuna is there with her other friend from school, and they're just watching the
Right.
tennis match, and they're having these orgasmic gasps, as Sean mentioned.
Well, let me pause and just I'm just gonna further expound on this. These gasps are like very short-winded, like
I don't need that.
like nonstop, all the time. Anything that something happens, it cuts to like a woman, even if she's like closing a car
Yeah.
door, like the one journalist
Yeah.
that we're introduced to at one point, and she's just like, ah. I'm like, all right, I get it. Like, you closed a car door, settle the fuck down.
It's a very heightened existence in this tennis world, just ready to go
So-
at a moment's notice.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
So
we got
she's on the
Sakuna.
train. She's gonna get hit by a tennis
Yeah,
racket.
whether
He
they
doesn't
mean to
notice
or
her.
not, that's the thing. It's like I don't even
Yeah,
think they notice
right.
her. She's just kind of in the
No,
background.
there was no intent.
Well, basically, that's kind of their meet cute, but only for Sakuna because Ryoma, he basically schools the older tennis kid and is just like, "You're holding your racket all wrong, dummy." Kind of like, "You got a lot to learn," and then they just kind of leave. But she sees this as him stepping in to save her from almost getting hit in the face with a tennis racket. He doesn't even know that she's there. Neither do the other guys. So she just kind of like exists in their wake. Like they don't even know that she's there. There's a moment
Right.
later where she's watching a tennis match with her friend, and at the end of the match, which of course Ryoma wins, she kind of introduces her friend to him, and then he kind of looks at her and he's like, "Have we met?" And she does. This is one of the few things where they actually have that like exaggerated reaction where she just kind of like the background behind her just goes completely dark and she basically just looks like she's in a moment of despair because he doesn't remember her. What I thought was interesting was they cut back to his dad saying something about like, "Where's my idiot kid? Maybe he found a girlfriend." And then it cuts back to Ryoma on the way home. He kind of gets this moment where he sees her face in his memory, and he's like, "Oh, I did meet her before." So to me, that kind of suggests that yes, they are going to have a romantic relationship that carries on throughout the rest of the series. He just has to
And Dave,
learn how to figure that out. Yeah.
And Dave, there was like a temple bell that
Yes.
rings in the background, and it chimes, and he's like, "Oh, I did meet her."
Yeah, it's like ding. Oh, I totally did meet it.
Oh god.
So it was well done. I mean, it edited really well together. The show overall, I think the production quality was really good. I mean, this was only the early 2000s, so it should be good.
Right.
But you never know with some of the stuff that we watch, it could be real wacky. But I think this one was pretty good. Do you guys have anything else for the characters? Any other ones you want to throw in there? I mean, like we said, it's kind of a rinse and repeat for the guys he goes up against. Obviously, they are members of the school and they are members of the team. So once he beats them, they're not like dead. They don't just go to a graveyard somewhere. Like they're still at the school and they still have to cooperate together and form a team. So
Yeah.
It was
No,
kind
I
of
mean,
funny
I think
that the guys he went up against were, in my opinion, kind of like the Japanese idea of what a white guy stereotype is.
yeah,
Like their hairstyles, like the way they like really kind of like conducted themselves, and I mean that like a physical sense was really kind of like very white guy, whereas like Ryoma was like very kind of reserved. He was like often much shorter than them, so he was like a much more docile character.
yeah. I mean, still a beast on the tennis court though, but just very
No, yeah.
reserved in the way he carries himself. He wasn't. I mean, he wasn't nice, but he wasn't brash. He wasn't bragging. He wasn't boasting and doing it in a loud kind of look at me, attention grabbing manner. Um, but he kind of is that divide between these older tennis jerks and these younger tennis idiots, and he eventually comes across all of them. But there's some kids that are just kind of like they're hanging out by the tennis courts. They're watching the older guys play. The older guys have basically already picked their teams, but the kids are kind of hanging around looking for scraps, and they're just like, well, they're not gonna let us try out for the team today, but we just thought we'd hang around and pick up some balls. I'm just like, all right, guys, just it's probably just in your best interest to just go home, and try again next year.
Oddly
Join the
enough,
chess club.
Yeah, exactly. Something else.
Yeah,
Go to a
right?
different school.
Oddly enough, because Matt, you just made the reference to like chess club. I thought of this more as like a karate school. It was like these
Yeah.
people seemed like they were the Karate Kid style Cobra Kai
Yeah,
group.
yeah.
Seriously.
Of like, we're just gonna intimidate the shit out of you, and then you're just like, I'm gonna sweep the leg with this serve.
I'm gonna crane kick you right in the mouth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crank kick you.
Craig kick. It's very specific.
Oh, crane
I said
kick.
crane, but I'll go with Craig.
It's like a crane
Yeah,
I like
kick,
the
but you
martial
learn it on the
ancient martial arts
streets.
move of the Craig kick.
Ah, god damn it, Craig! Why'd you Craig kick me?
That's what I do.
Part of my name. That's what I do.
Craig kick.
Do we want to get into these episodes?
I mean, yeah, we can kind of talk about the other characters that pop up as we go because you pretty much just swap the hair color out in the name and it's the same person. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna ask this important question as we delve into these episodes.
Yeah, and we're at about the halfway mark now though too, so now's a good time to get into some episodes.
Okay. So if you are playing tennis and you are going to a tennis match in order to play,
With you so far.
and yeah, thank you, and you don't wanna like fault on your match, wouldn't it be in your best interest to maybe get directions in advance to find out where the tennis courts are
I
located?
mean, you could say that, or you just think like, hey, I'll ask somebody that's there because they'll obviously know everything about this place, right?
And I originally I thought like, oh well, this is a fluke, and then it popped up again in the second episode, and I was like, is this? And it didn't happen in episode 3 or 4, but I was curious, like, is this I wonder if this is a reoccurring theme where people just don't know where the tennis courts
Where
are.
anything is at a
Tennis
tennis
courts are
school.
Yeah, right. Tennis courts are pretty fucking obvious. Like when you see them, you're just like,
You
yeah,
can
it's
see 'em,
absolutely
you
a
can
tennis
hear 'em.
court.
If you go to a school dedicated to tennis and only tennis, you should probably fucking know where they are.
If you're looking to, well, I majored in tennis when I was attending San Francisco City
Very nice.
College, and so like when you walk on campus, you're just like, oh, I know where everything is. It was surprising to me that for being somebody so focused on the game that they would be so neglectful regarding.
Well, now here's my question then. I mean, I know you're kind of joshing, but I'll take this somewhat seriously.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
San Francisco City College, I can guarantee you, does not have a tennis program.
Oh, you don't have a tennis program anymore? That's unfortunate.
Well, I did it
Not
I did it distance.
Oh,
learning.
distance learning
Yeah,
internet tennis. Just playing virtual tennis online.
You
It's me in front of a webcam just working on my
watching
Yeah,
this
you-
series
my
actually
backhand.
you
counted for,
watched watched tennis on TV and just registered the credits afterward.
That would be amazing. I love watching tennis on
No,
television.
I'm a fan of it too. It's
a guilty pleasure
surprisingly
of
good,
mine.
which is why I think I enjoyed this series as well too, because it was different. I didn't quite feel that dramatic tension because you just knew this kid was going to destroy his opponents, but it was kind of nice to be able to watch it in an animated version. But okay, so basically what Sean was talking about, Ryoma shows up and he's supposed to have these matches, but he defaults on them if he doesn't show up on time, which makes sense. And he does this multiple times, but he doesn't seem that pissed about it because, like Baron said, this kid is like super reserved. He's too cool for school. He's too cool to even care. So
Yeah.
he would rather just kind of do these little like weird tennis pickup matches where he has to teach these bullies a lesson, rather than actually just go through the normal channels and actually just work his way up legitimately. So he's kind of got that like rebellious streak to him a little bit, which was interesting, but also just kind of odd in a narrative sense too, because it's just kind of like, well, how are you gonna go anywhere if you're not actually in official matches?
I almost wanted you to be like, Etchison's the bad boy of tennis.
The who? Oh, the bad boy of tennis.
He's the bad boy.
I think John McEnroe's got that already. So
John McEnroe's got that.
He's already
Oh,
got
come
that.
on, you cannot
Yeah.
be serious.
yeah, that's a great McEnroe.
What it wasn't. It's not Federer.
No, definitely not Federer.
It's like the
And those
nicest
are the
He is
two
so
tennis names I know.
Pete Sampras.
Oh,
I'm gonna
really?
throw out Pete Sampras.
Oh, wait,
Agassi?
Serena Williams.
Andre Agassi.
Yeah, I don't know.
The Williams sisters.
I don't
Yeah.
pay any attention to that
Bad
shit.
girls.
So.
I would like to see Ryoma versus.
Fucking done
I
with
want to see
this.
Ryoma versus Serena Williams. Would be a fantastic.
Oh man.
Speaking of orgasmic grunts and stuff, I mean, maybe they were just making fun of tennis at that point. Because I mean,
Nah, she's
ooh,
either the Williams sisters. They are champions through and
oh,
fucking
absolutely.
through,
But
and
I
that is.
cannot. I gotta mute the games when I'm watching them because between them and Sharapova, I can't. It just drills into my brain. I can't enjoy it. Just screaming at each
Oh,
other
really?
over and over again.
Oh, I love it. It's like watching two warriors just fucking.
Yeah, exactly.
Just
No, you could have just stopped
go
right there.
at it.
It's like just watching two warriors fucking, because that's what it
Mm.
sounds like. Anyway, back to the Prince of Tennis. TeniPuri. Okay, so
Back to the bad boys of tennis.
we've already got the meet cute. We've got him showing up late for the match and just kind of like dozing on the lawn, and then pretty much blaming the
Yeah.
girl for his missing the match.
Did you remember? Did you write down the line?
I didn't.
Or did you know what the? I did. This is the best. And she just goes, "It's my fault." And she goes, "I feel like this is my fault." And she goes, and Etchison just goes, "It is your fault. It's your double fault."
Oh, that's
And I was
right.
like,
That was
I
the,
know.
that was the
Yeah,
first
I was
pun.
like, oh my god.
Just shut it down.
Double fault. Come on, guys. You're better than this.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
They should have been at this point. Okay, so now we kind of we get to that first match. So it's Ryoma versus, I don't even remember the guy's name, just some tennis jerk, right? He thinks he's older. He's
Sure.
like 16, 17, whatever. He's
Yeah, he's playing in the boys 16, and he is and Etchison is obviously a 12-year-old.
who just showed up
And
out of
this is
nowhere.
like, yeah, it just showed
Yeah.
up.
So they're gonna have this match. Obviously, the older guy, he's got his Cobra Kai buddies over there. They think they're just gonna wipe the floor with this kid, and they'll be done with it. It'll
And
be done quick. And it's
these are
before
the-
their
these are the
actual
kid-
matches too.
Right, and these are the kids that were on the subway.
Yeah, same kids.
Yeah, same kid.
So they basically go in to have this match. Now at this point, where the hell does the grandmother come from? Did she just come from off screen, just out of nowhere?
Well, it's the girl's grandmother, isn't it?
Yeah, but she's just
Yeah.
like, oh, hey grandmother, I'm
Well,
here to meet
she's-
you at this
she's-
agreed upon
yeah.
time and place. Yeah.
Right.
So grandma
Well,
shows up for
she-
no reason other than to explain the game of tennis and what is happening on the court to her idiot granddaughter, who is one of the tennis idiots.
Which is funny. The granddaughter is like, I really like tennis,
Yeah.
but I'm not good at it. I'm like, well, okay, I like a lot of things that I'm not good
Yeah,
at.
but you can
That's-
still
that's
understand
totally
how they
legit.
function
Yeah.
and how the
I
rules
still
work.
understand.
I mean, she's obviously the in between for the audience, but it's done in such a ham-fisted way that it's just funny. Because they literally cut. I mean, there's not a lot of action that goes on here because they're just, hitting a tennis ball back and forth. And the way that they try to edit it and shoot it to make it look like really kind of dynamic sometimes works and sometimes doesn't because there's not a whole lot you can do. So
Right.
then when something happens and you don't really know what just happened, they'll cut to the grandma and she'll just be like, "Oh no, he's up 15 love or whatever." And she'll just
Yeah.
explain the point that just happened or the type of serve that he just hit or why the tennis ball hit the other guy in the face when he wasn't expecting it. Oh,
Right.
just yeah.
So the scenario that occurs where the grandma really interjects is between Etchison and this Cobra Kai tennis guy,
Let's just call him
where yeah, Cobra Kai tennis
Got it.
guy and Etchison have decided that they are going to play that they are not going to take a line judge, which is somebody who determines whether or not the ball, like the tennis ball, is
An
out or if
objective
there's a
third
fault
party.
on a serve.
Exactly.
Exactly. And so they decide that what they're going to do is that they're going to call their own faults. And that's a tricky play because, as you find out, Cobra Kai guy does it in a deceitful, dickheadish way.
Because he's getting beat.
And
He's getting beat by this 12-year-old kid,
Yeah.
so he's starting to cheat.
Getting his ass
now.
handed
Yeah.
to him. And so Etchison decides to show him a lesson and just prove exactly how good and how skilled
Well,
he
hold
is.
on.
And
Isn't
that was
this
impressive.
right after the other guy kind of loses his temper too? Or is that not
A
yet?
little bit. Yeah, I think that's
Basically,
what,
so like so Etchison is like he's short, so he doesn't have the wingspan. So the other guy thinks, okay, if I cheat up to the net, there's no way he can hit stuff past me. At which point he just starts lobbing shit over his head and just like plunking it on the lines or in the corners behind him. So he's playing as an actual tennis player would play.
Yeah.
So
It seemed like there were a lot of opportunities where certain players were like, I'm just gonna charge the net, and since he's such a young
Yeah.
kid and he's not powerful enough.
So
I
they
mean,
think,
and
yeah.
tennis is a challenging sport because you're not hitting with your arm, you're pivoting with your entire body.
Yeah. Well, there's also like
And
there's
so-
placement, there's spin, there's the amount of power you want to put
Right.
into it, all kinds of stuff that goes on. So obviously this kid is like a pro at this. Well,
Right.
the older guy,
It's like I equate it to like the idea of like if you watch boxing and you're just like, oh, they're just like throwing punches and that's it. You're like, no, like they're punching with their entire body. Like they're twisting and pivoting. Like this is more complicated than them just like willy-nilly spaghetti arm throwing punches like, at their opponent. Like this is a much more complicated sport than what it appears.
guys, Sean knows what he's talking about. I did get Craig kicked by him once, and it was fucking awful. So he
Well, it's
really
like the
knows.
two sports that I actually really enjoy are
Craig
boxing
kicking and tennis.
And
Oh,
so
okay.
and karate kidding.
And
That's
karate
the third
kid.
one.
I'm just
Karate
karate
kidding.
kidding.
A lot of karate kidding.
So
going
at
on
this
there.
point, Cobra Kai tennis guy gets pissed because he's getting his ass handed to him by this little kid, and he kind of feigns going up for a shot, but instead he just, and I couldn't quite tell what happened, but he basically just clubs Etchison in the face with his tennis racket.
Yeah.
He comes down like kind
he-
of across the net and just clubs him across the face.
So Etchison tries to lob
Yeah.
one over his head behind him, and so Cobra Kai guy jumps up to try to
try to knock it,
actually to try to knock it down, and so instead he realizes that he's not going to hit it, so he throws his racket like, and it hits Etchison like square in the forehead.
There's
And
a
you're
lot of
just
blood
like,
that kind of gets
"Oh."
exchanged here in this first episode. It's
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
Like that's like that moment in any anime where like first blood's been
Right.
drawn and you're like shit
Oh,
is about
shit.
to get fucking real.
So then that's when the guy kind of calls. He says that Etchison's shot was out when it was clearly in. So,
Mhm.
Baron, do you remember what Etchison does next with his next serve? Since this guy's going to start calling all the shots out.
Yeah, doesn't he and I might be missing a play in here, but he hits it so that it spins and like basically sits just on like before the line but over his head.
Yeah, he defies
Yep.
all laws of physics,
Yeah.
and this ball
I
no
was
longer
like-
has any bounce
Honestly,
whatsoever.
when I saw that, I was like, what in the actual fuck was that?
That's
Like,
the first
that
kind of
can't
like
happen in
supernatural
tennis.
anime thing. Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
fucking skill,
skill,
bro.
bro. That's tennis skill, bro.
Skill,
But it was
bro.
great. So it just hits. So normally people play it off the bounce. So it just hits and sticks, and that's it. And it just sits there and spins. He's like, "You gonna call that one out too?" Like a little dick.
Yeah.
So it only escalates kind of from there. At what point does Etchison kind of bring out his ace up his sleeve, shall we say? Does he do it at the end, or does he do it before he actually defeats the guy?
I think he does it like towards the end because he keeps using it. Are you talking about the kick
No, no, no. I'm
serve?
not talking about that. I'm talking about so he's been playing right-handed this entire time, and pretty
Oh
much just
yeah.
Oh,
handed
that
it
was
to
at
this
the
guy. Like,
very, very end of that match. Yeah.
so it was like the end
Yeah.
after he was already done, or like the
Yeah.
last serve was.
It was like the last because that was right at the moment like he switches his hand and then there's like a freeze frame with a plane that's flying behind him and I was like I have no wait what I did not those two things did not sync up for me. I was
So
very curious how that was happening.
yeah, at like this point, so Etchison just starts taking the hits to Cobra Kai tennis guy because he's basically like, okay, if you're gonna call all my shots out, then I'm just gonna pelt you with tennis balls until you surrender. That's basically what he does. And then when he's more or less won the match, the game, the match, and the set, he just says like, I think the guy wants to play again. He's like, we'll do another set. I can keep playing. I can keep playing. He's like, okay, I can keep playing too, but I'd like to, I'm gonna finish this a little faster than I would have liked. And he just switches hands. So now he's like
Yeah.
switches. So it cuts over to Grandma, and she's like, oh, by the way, didn't you know, audience? He's left-handed, and you're just supposed to be like, what? So it's very much that Princess
I would
Bride
have
kind of
been
moment where, yeah.
I would have been more like what if he took off his shoe and they were just like don't you know he plays with his
I mean,
feet.
give him a couple episodes, that might happen.
Or like was it the guy in One Piece that carries the sword
In his
between
teeth and
teeth?
his elbows and his shoulders and everywhere else. Yeah, that's the best.
And he just carried a tennis like racket between like the back of his knee. He's like, "Don't you
Don't you
know?
know?
He only plays with his knees." Like, well, that's some shit that I'm not gonna watch.
And we're done here.
And see,
But honestly, like, that is pretty much it for those first 3 episodes. Like, you swap out the Cobra Kai guy for somebody who has a little bit more of a rounded character or an interesting kind of side trait to him. You add in this random reporter, you pepper in some stuff about his dad, and then you see these other kids start to kind of come in, the tennis idiots who are younger, and they start to kind of grow up with him. One of them has 2 years of
right.
experience, so you gotta watch out for
Wait,
him.
hold on. Was this it was like uh his name was like
Horio,
Oreo?
yeah,
Oreo.
terrible name.
Uh yeah, I was curious. Did he play tennis for 2 years at the
You
tennis
know,
game?
he's been playing tennis for 2 years,
Prior?
so he knows a thing or two.
Huh. Played tennis for two. Hey, Baron. He played tennis for 2 years, right?
I'm pretty sure that he played tennis for 2 years.
Yeah, he had 2 years.
Dave,
He had 2 years worth of tennis playing.
2 years
It
of
was 2 years.
experience playing
Yeah.
tennis prior to coming and being a seventh
Yeah, for the
grader,
2
like a
years
12-year.
before he came there, he was playing tennis for those 2 years.
You guys are both telling me 2 years.
So if you're irritated
of
with us by
tennis
this
camp.
point, then you know how we felt watching the show because this kid not
Jesus
only every time he
Christ.
opens his mouth, he has a comment about like, oh, he just made a kick serve, and I know because I've got 2 years of tennis experience. He even has the interstitials or like the end of the episode that introduces the next episode where he says that over and over again. And the first couple of times it was
Yeah.
funny, but I could imagine more episodes of that, and that would get really irritating real fast.
He went from being relatable or cute with the first time to being annoying as
Yeah.
shit in one
Yeah,
episode.
he was pretty much that kid.
Yeah. And he continues to. It seemed like he continued to have a relationship with Etchison where he wanted him to win
Yeah.
and sort of show that like a seventh grader could be as good
Yeah, it was like their
as
proxy.
what they the yeah right as quote unquote like the regulars who the regular players who are on this tennis team. And so but at the same time I mean I know like in episode 4 he makes a couple comments about how he's not going to beat this other player or how he's no match for the regulars and like and you turn and the camera pans back a little bit and Etchison's standing right there and is like I don't give a shit, you can say whatever you fucking want, like I'm still gonna win every match, like I don't care what you
I'll
have
put
to
this team on
say.
my shoulders.
And yeah, exactly. It's just and it's just it was very interesting. He kind of I felt like he flip flopped back and
Well,
forth a little
look,
bit
I'll
about.
say this. So when we first kind of meet all the younger kids and they're trying to get a spot on the regular squad, the two of the older regulars are playing this kind of mean game They're saying, "Oh yeah, you guys come on in. We got a special, welcoming ritual. It's a little game that we play. We're gonna put this canister of tennis balls over here on the opposite side of the court in the corner, and if you hit it in one of 10 serves, you get 10 tries. If you hit it, you can win 10,000 yen." And they're like,
And this was not the sexy kind of hazing that I
"No,
was
it was
hoping
not
was
sexy
going to
hazing.
happen.
It was just
Nah.
rote, kind of like repetitive. They tried to hit a tennis ball out of a can of tennis balls, and it does not work. Hazing." And
Between
then
the
basically
between
they
the
like overcharge them
orgasmic
for it.
door closing and the sexy tennis hazing, like what were you going for in this episode?
No, it's weird because the older tennis player at one, like this older male tennis
Yeah.
player,
Is that Momo
who
that
I
comes
guess
in?
was yeah, no, he was it was right before Momo comes in, and he like when they're playing this hazing tennis game, the older boy looks at at Etchison and just goes, "We're not done, hot
Oh
stuff."
yeah, he does call him hot
Like,
stuff.
Whoa!
It's like, what's gonna happen
I
with
was
those
like, ooh,
rackets?
uncomfortable.
Ooh,
Hot stuff.
hot stuff.
Yes.
Spinning
Get in
that
there.
racket.
Tennis after dark.
Tennis.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Tennis
Tennis
cops.
cops. I would watch that show.
I'd watch
Let's
that
watch
show.
that show. Let's
I
write
really
that
wanna
show.
watch
Guys,
that show.
it's in
Totally make that
post-production
show.
at Deke right now.
Excellent.
Yes,
Excellent.
Deke,
I'm looking
you're
forward to
doing it.
Tennis Cops. We do our second sports month. We're covering that shit.
But so I guess
Our
the
sports
one
law
thing
enforcement.
the one thing I want to ask, just as kind of my final
Mhm.
thought about these 3 episodes is, and I know I've brought this up for the past couple weeks, but we continue to have these older kids who are cocky and who are, I want to say, not, I mean they're antagonistic.
Yeah.
And they're bullying these
Yeah.
kids to a certain extent. And there's even the line in episode 3 where he goes, "I gotta humiliate that kid and put him in his
Right.
place." So the question I have to ask is, what level of sportsmanship did either of you take away from this show? Because the challenge I had with this was Etchison himself is sort of a cocky
Yeah,
prick
he's out for himself. That's
about
it.
everything that he's really out, exactly. And so watching this, I was like, oh, in other shows we've seen people that have been like, well, I'm here to like clean up the league and make everything good.
Right.
And the contrast is just like, well, I'm here to own everything and you guys play for me and I don't give a shit about your feelings. Get back out on the field. This was weird because this was the first time that instead of good versus evil, this is just like the dick-headed versus the more dick-headed at the moment.
See, but I think that's what made it kind of interesting because it was more reflective of real life and real sports kind of drama. And yes, it was definitely heightened and cartoonish at times, but I feel like if we had a chance to watch more of it, you would have hopefully seen. I've been saying his name the entire night and it just blanked on me. Etchison. You would have
Etchison?
hopefully seen him, warm up to his fellow athletes and his friends a little bit more and kind of open up and help them. Help them to help him win things. And you would hopefully see the ones who acted as adversaries and antagonists, you would kind of hopefully see them gel as a team in order to take on other teams. So I don't think we got to see any real level of sportsmanship because everybody was a dick. But I'm hoping that was part of the story that kind of came along over the course of the show. So if anybody out there is a big fan of the Prince of Tennis and you kind of know where the storyline goes from there, feel free to drop us a line and let us know.
Yeah, because
and
I'm
I
gonna
was-
keep watching, and I want to know that this pays off at some
Right.
point, like that he is not as much of a douche as he is initially perceived.
And
to
look,
be.
I think it has to. It either has to go completely zany crazy, or it has to actually have a logical kind of run through it because the Japanese folks still do enjoy it. So it's got to be one or the other.
If he draws like a blood seal on the tennis
Yeah.
court, and then like a giant fighting robot emerges
Just a
from
giant
it,
suit
and
of
his
armor with a tennis racket.
and like his mother had died working on the robot, but the spirit of the robot,
brother.
like she was, and they were just like, wow, this Neon Genesis tennis version.
Oh, I
got
thought you were
real
going
weird.
full
Neon
Alchemist
Tennis.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
Jokes.
or Dave, to go in your route, Full Metal Racket.
I like Full Metal Racket.
Full Metal Racket
That
would
is
work
good.
as well.
I like that a lot.
All
right.
Full Metal
That's-
Racket.
I would watch both of those
We're gonna
shows.
watch
I
Tennis
would watch
Cops
both
leading
of
into
those.
Full Metal Racket. That's amazing.
Jesus. Actually, I mean, the first 3 episodes that the thing that I really noticed was that Etchison played, I mean, yeah, he was an asshole, but he played a much more intellectual game,
Yeah.
like a more reserved game,
Yeah.
versus the guys who were like kind of the more brazen, hot shit guys who, were really trying to show off. He's like, look, I know I'm really good at this. I don't have to go out there and like brag about it.
Right.
I'm going to be an asshole about it in other ways, but I'm also going to make you look like a dick. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something that I definitely think we just got a kind of a taste of, and I'd like to go back and watch a little bit more of it and see how it progresses. But we're getting a little short on time, so we'll do one last round of final thoughts. Sean, did you have anything else from either that fourth episode you watched or the show in general?
No, I'm curious to keep watching. In the fourth episode, he is playing against one of the regulars finally.
Oh, okay.
Called the Viper, which is great because the character actually for a majority of the episode just actually hisses.
Wonderful.
So he just
he has a lisp.
He had a lisp.
Yeah, right.
Poor guy.
He just very lispily just goes, and you're like, I get it. He's a fucking
He's
Viper,
a snake guy.
but he's called the Viper because he has a longer reach.
Yeah, because snakes are known
Nevertheless.
for their wingspan.
Yeah, are known for their.
Snakes are known for their
Wait,
reach
really?
of their arms.
Really? I thought birds would be known for their wingspan. Not
Yeah, snakes are known for their arms.
Yeah, their arms, just in general.
Wait, snakes are well known for their tennis playing capabilities. They are pretty clutch when it comes to tennis. No, yeah, I think my last thought about the, just sportsmanship was my
Okay.
final
Yeah, we'll
thought
keep an
about
eye on
the
that
show.
one, see if it actually develops. Matt, for the episodes that you got to watch, did you have any other final thoughts?
Honestly, I'm not really a big sports cartoon guy, but this was pretty good. I have to say, I really like the style of animation. It was fun to watch. I would definitely keep watching.
Cool. So on that note, do you recommend this to our listeners out there?
Absolutely. I would definitely check out the first 3 episodes. I mean, it's not kind of the super cheesy anime style. It's kind of toned down a little bit, but if you like anime, you're gonna like it. If you don't like anime, you'll probably like it too. So.
Yeah, it's actually a good balance. I think that's a good way to put it. Sean, how about you?
Yeah, definitely recommend this. I'm looking forward to watching some more episodes. I think when we're done recording this, I'm probably gonna finish up my evening by watching another
Prince
hour
of
of it.
Tennis.
Yeah, it was good.
That's a 3 for
It was
3.
good.
I'd say check it out too. It's definitely, you know what? Here's a good way to look at it. If you've never watched anime before and you're freaked out by it and you don't like all the tentacles and robots and crazy stuff, check this out. Because it's a good kind of like.
Whoa! There's tentacles.
Well, maybe at some point there are, but if you're worried about tentacles, unlike Sean, if you're aroused by tentacles, you're probably already well into the anime. But if you are concerned that there are too many tentacles, I would check out Prince of Tennis or Tenniscles. Yeah, either one. I would check out Prince of Tennis.
I love the fact that you had to pause for a moment because you're like, I don't want to acknowledge what Matt just said, but I do want to acknowledge what Matt just said.
Yeah.
Full Metal Racket. That might be my favorite. Yeah, I would say check it out. It's kind of like a gateway series maybe for you into anime. It's something that's a little more tame, but it gives you a bit of the flavor of what people look for in anime and why this one is so popular without being too crazy. So I'd say check it out. And like Sean said, you can check it out on Hulu, unbeknownst to me. So I will do that in the future as well. Let's see. What do you guys have coming up in the next couple of weeks? Baron, I'm going to go to you first because your list is usually a little shorter. What's new with you?
Very little. That's my whole list.
Oh, that's it.
Yep, that's it.
So slightly less than little. You got nothing.
Yeah, I'm really
just
gonna
be
have to start
playing
doing something with my life.
Playing some tennis. Just start scripting tennis cops and
Full Metal Racket.
Yeah, Full Metal Racket fan fiction. I'm
Oh my
on,
God,
guys.
please.
I'm on it right now.
Please do it. I say that from the bottom of my heart.
I really want to watch that.
I just want to read it. And I want to see his little drawings in the margins. It'd be so cute. All right, Sean, what do you have coming up?
During the month of July, I'm going to be doing a bunch of shows for Washington Improv Theater. You can come and check this out. Be performing on. I don't know why that was funny. It'll be Saturday, July 11th at 9:30 p.m. It'll be. I'm pulling up these dates. It'll be the following was the 18th at 9:30. It's the 25th at 9:30, and then I'm going to assume that it's then the 1st of August at 9. Also, you can check out everything and more on witdc.org, and this is a part of Wit's upcoming run of shows that's called Wit Attacks. So check those out. It'll be a bunch of never before seen styles of shows that have been done in the DC area. So it'll be a lot.
Excellent.
Of fun.
We'll have all that information up on the website, which is SaturdayMorningCartoons.com. Let's.
And I'm sorry, and Matt, where can I find you on
Yeah, I was gonna
Twitter
run through
and
there, but we'll do that
on
now.
the social
Let's do it.
media?
As always, you can find me at Bag of Sandwiches.
That's what I
I
wanted
love
to
that
hear.
that's still a thing. If you want to change it to Full Metal Racket, I'm fine with that. But I really do like Bag of Sandwiches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Sean Paul Ellis. Dave, what do you got going on recently?
Well, actually, by the time you guys are hearing this, you may or may not have seen me at San Diego Comic-Con. It's from July 8th to the 12th.
Yeah, what are you cosplaying as this year?
Probably just myself. I don't have the time to do that, unfortunately.
Okay.
But
Alright,
I will be repping SMC. So if you guys see or did already see me, perhaps I will give you or you have already received some SMC swag. If you're listening to this show and would like some stickers or buttons or some other cool stuff, just send us an email. Let us know. We'll get you some fun promotional stuff that you guys can check out. So
that's right. We will send you in the mail free stuff if you
they're awesome picture
if you
on
comment. Yeah, if you comment on either my Instagram photos or you leave a comment on anything, we will send you free stuff.
Guys, you tell me what you want. I will put our logo on pretty much anything I can conceivably put it on.
Whoa. Whatever you want within reason.
Whatever you want. Whatever I can conceivably do. If you want our logo on a Tesla, I will do my best to do that. It will not happen, but I will try.
I will not buy you the Tesla, but I will put the logo
but I will
on
find
the
one
Tesla
and put
you
our sticker
purchased.
on it and then run away.
Hey, Dave. Dave, I'm a long-time listener, and I'd like to get some of your fingers.
That's fine. Do you want our logo on them? Should I get them tattooed first, wrapped in stickers?
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Okay, got it. Excellent. Thanks for calling, Carol. I will talk to you later.
Oh, you're welcome.
That's Carol, everybody.
Talk to you later.
Let's see. If you want to find out more about us,
And a seamless segue.
I kind of want to let Carol run through our contact information tonight.
Oh man,
You feeling up to it? Your voice got a little smoother. It's funny how that.
Did
Yeah.
it? Did it get a little? Well, I put a lozenge.
Oh, a lozenge. You got it together over there?
I'm sorry, I've got the
Wait,
giggles
okay.
right now.
Do the Ricola song, but in that voice.
Oh boy! So while these two are getting themselves together, you can find me on Twitter at Dr. Claw MD. You can check us out on Twitter at Morning Tunes. You can also follow us on our Tumblr page, SaturdayMorningCartoons.tumblr.com. Remember, each and every time that's morning with a U, friends. You can also download this podcast each and every week through Stitcher and iTunes. And please, if you do have the time and you do like the show, post a rating and review for us. It really does help out with the numbers too. So, all good. I think that's pretty much it for this show. We will probably have another theme month coming up next week. We haven't had that quite locked down yet, so we will get back to you guys when we know. But until then, I'd like to thank Matt for joining us again. Sean, as always. You guys have any final thoughts, final words for the listeners out there?
Well, I have a question for the both
here
of
we
you.
go.
If you guys had a special tennis skill or serve, what would it be, and what would you call it, and what would it accomplish on the tennis
I'm gonna
court?
call mine the felt melter, and it's going to be
That is so fucking
felt
good.
melter,
Oh my
and it's
God.
gonna be a
melter.
flaming serve. It's my flaming serve.
It actually kills a Muppet
Yeah,
immediately.
just bursts into flames. Every time I use it, a Muppet dies somewhere.
Oh my
Yep.
god.
It's
that's
like the
perfect.
Prestige, but with Muppets.
Yeah, but with
With
Muppets.
Muppets.
And David Bowie's in a field somewhere, just killing Muppets for me.
There's just a warehouse full of Kermits and tanks.
Just shredded. Just melted foam rubber everywhere.
That is as good a place as any to end this.
Oh man,
Does Matt have one or not? I gotta let him know.
I can't possibly follow that.
Oh, okay, alright. Well, until
Yeah.
next time, this has been Saturday Morning Cartoons. Peacing out with a felt melter. Thanks for listening.